kind of off center.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next chapter of our hackathon webinar series. This one is going to be a little bit more of a fun one. It's just a hackathon halfway check-in, and I'm pleased to have with me my colleague Per. And Per, want to reintroduce yourself? I know you've been on here before, but anyways, maybe we got some newcomers here.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks ago, and I guess a
Yeah,
lot has happened since then. So yeah, my name is Per. I'm Danish, which explains the very short name. We keep things very short and muddled in our language. I am the director in a DevRel team, and work together with Michael.
yep,
So um, we should get started with like just the agenda, and
yeah,
I should get up some slides, I guess.
sure, yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Are we taking this like too casual this time, Michael?
I don't know. I think casual is a good thing too. And I'll go ahead and say too, if anybody's hanging out in chat and wants to say hi or anything like that, feel free to do so. I do see uh, Gabrielle is already saying that she's super excited for the mid hackathon check in and hope everybody's project's going well. We hope so too. So
Dippity-dippity. Thank you for just filling in this time while I was doing this
yeah,
because I couldn't get the sharing to work, so that's pretty good. Let's
just
try this
showing how
again.
live we are here.
Yeah. So, all right, let's. Oh, whoops. There we go. So I think you can probably see this as well now.
Yep,
I hope at
I
least.
can.
All right. So yeah, it's a halfway check-in, as you said before. We are halfway through. We have still some stuff to show everyone and share with everyone. So let's just go to that. So first of all, just to mention, we're not doing this on our own. Again, Docker is a tool you can use for many things. We brought in a lot of different partners who helped us add some deep knowledge about AI ML, and I can see from the various presentations we had so far, a lot of people have been following along. And if you hadn't, we'll talk about those have already happened in a moment. But yeah, the partners we have is Neo4j, OctoML, Navan, Olama, and DataStax, all specializing in various parts of the stack used for AI ML. So let's talk about agenda. So we'll just like do a recap what has happened so far. So people who have been joining late or been busy with other things in life, we'll just give you like a recap what's been going on and where you can kind of catch up. Then we're just going to talk about upcoming things that's going to happen the next week. And then you, Michael, are going to attempt diving into the GenAI stack open source project, which one of our partners, Neo4j, already talked about in another session. So if you want like a really deep technical deep dive into that one, the Neo4j session can be highly recommended.
Yep.
And last but not least, if you have any questions during this presentation about the hackathon, about the pricing, about the judges, about the criteria for winning, anything you might think of, or just how do I get started with this thing, just post them in the chat and we'll answer them as they come in. So and if you don't have any questions, great, then we assume everything is good. So let's just talk about how we're doing so far. So nearly 1,700 people have signed up as participants in the hackathons, with a lot of people competing for the prizes here, which is great. And they're coming from all over the world with participants from 102 countries. We already had 12 submissions, so already 12 teams have actually submitted a hack, and some people have even submitted multiple ones.
Hmm.
So there's plenty of stuff happening. People are building things. And also as part of this, we can't really see what's been submitted so far. So we are just as excited to kind of like figure out what's in there when we open up the pool of submissions at the end of this thing to judge them. And finally, if you don't have anyone to work together with, there are 411 other people like you in this hackathon. So there are plenty of people seeking a team who you can work together with. And so go to the dev post site, docker.devpost.com, and there you can find people, and you can even see the different like advertised skills and find people who might complement you or have some of the same kind of ideas for you as you are for building things. All right, Michael, anything you want to add?
No, I don't think so. It is exciting to see that we've got 12 submissions already because I'll admit, like I'm still thinking of all right, what sort of hack do I want to do as well too. And so the fact that somebody else is, or 12 other submissions have already been made, I feel like
Yep.
I'm behind, but it's only halfway through. There's still plenty of
Yeah.
time.
All right. So, what has been going on? How can you find out about it? So, we already had a bunch of presentations by our partners. And you can find these under docker.devpost.com, where all the different details about the different events that has happened, and each of them has like a link of like watch here, and you'll be taken directly to the YouTube video. So each of the ones that has happened has a link in there for that. And the ones that's going to happen in the future is also listed in the same place on docker.devpost.com. So you can find also the future events in there as well, as they are going to be popularized with like who is going to do and what they're about as well. You can also just go to Docker's YouTube channel directly, and there we have all the videos in just one big playlist. And you can also find a ton of other stuff in there as well that might also be relevant for what you're building. So let's talk a little bit about what's actually happening in the next week. We will have a presentation from the Docker extensions team on Tuesday. It is presented by one of the main developers of Docker extensions, and he will show you how you can integrate your own UI bits and pieces into Docker Desktop. And Mike, I know you've been doing this.
Yep.
So can you just give like the lowdown of what that actually is and how does that work?
Yeah. So with Docker extensions, you can think of it as when we open up Docker Desktop and there's the UI there, the dashboard. There's the ability to plug in additional functionality and additional capabilities within the UI there. And so with an extension, you basically package up your application, and it's at the end of the day, it's a web app, at least the UI part of it. But then you can have your own backing services, and so basically, it just allows you to plug in your application into the Chrome and the look and feel, and basically just make it easier to access through that desktop extension framework there. And it also provides really good hooks to be able to run containers or query stuff or whatever else it might be. So it's a good way to extend and add functionality to maybe some of the things that desktop's not doing it. Pretty cool.
So you actually you get the context of the different containers and so on you have inside the desktop, and you can kind of combine that with information from the outside.
Yeah, and so we've seen extensions from, hey, I'm going to open up a container image and go layer by layer and help you see what files are being introduced within each layer of a container image. We've seen others that are like, hey, we're going to help you run containers to support these different stacks, or take this image and push it up to and deploy it to an OpenShift cluster or whatnot. So it's extending the things that you've got on your local machine, and whether it's images or containers or volumes or networks. In fact, like the number one most popular extension right now was really just made as a demo, but it's the disk usage. And so just go in there and say, like, here's where all your disk space is being taken up, and you don't have to remember what's the Docker system prune command and all the different flags. You can just click, boom, I just got 6 gigs of free space. So, and it was kind of just a fun one that was just put together, and it's like by far the most popular extension, which is
okay. Who put together that very popular one?
It was actually the extensions team. They put it together as a kind of a proof of
just
concept.
as a kind of a demo, basically.
Yep.
All right.
And so it kind of told us, hey, maybe we can do some things to help make disk utilization or visibility into where your disk space is going a little bit easier, whatnot. So
right.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so so that's if you have anything where you really want to connect it with the stuff that people are working on inside of Docker Desktop, then that's the session for you on Tuesday. And then we have a session Friday, November 3rd. And that is by a partner. It's just like last minute coming in. And Michael, you remember the name? I think it's Lifecycle, right?
I'm gonna have to double check it myself. It's just getting confirmed right now. And we're super excited to have yet another partner joining us here. Lifecycle. You're right.
Yep. And they're actually an extension for Docker Desktop, as far as I remember.
That's correct. Yep, they've got an extension that makes it a lot easier to work with Docker and whatnot. And they'll dive much more into that. And honestly, I'm still ramping up and learning about them as well too. But it is pretty exciting the things that they're doing there.
Cool. All right. And then we have on November 6th we have like a last minute check-in, and it's really there to help you submit your hack in last minute. So if you build the thing, maybe over the weekend, and then Monday, the day before submission deadline, you want to submit this thing and something is not working. That's why we have a session there at that time. Really, it's just last minute tech support in case you need help on how do I submit this thing, and we'll try to kind of walk you through it as well, like during the session as well. So that's really the point of that, really just like wrapping things up in a practical way. So that's the three things we have scheduled. All right, so let's talk about Gen AI stack.
Yeah.
Can I throw it over to you, Michael? I'll just jump out of these slides and
Sure.
turn off this thing, and now we get like unlimited thing in here. So I'll just stop sharing. There we go. So
Yeah. So for those that are just jumping into this, at DockerCon just a couple weeks ago, we announced the partnership with LangChain, Neo4j, Olama, and it basically is here's a simple stack to just get started with generative AI. Okay. And in fact, let me share my screen. And make sure I get the right window here. There we go. Okay. And basically what this is it's a GitHub repo that's already got a lot of the starting bits and pieces and everything so that you can do generative AI completely locally on your machine. There is one caveat here though, and that's that Olama, the LLM, when it's running, has to run natively. That currently can't run it out of containers, and that's only because GPU access, especially on Macs, doesn't quite work well with containers, and that's something we're working with Apple with and that kind of stuff. So as of today, anyways, um, if I went to run completely locally on my machine, again, I'm on a Mac, I'm going to run Olama, and then I can run the rest of the stack, and it'll use the LLM the LLM that Olama is presenting, but then everything else is running out of containers. And again, this allows me to do everything completely locally on my machine, et cetera. And again, we announced this at DockerCon a couple weeks ago, but it's still getting continuous improvements and new features, new capabilities that are added to it. Again, if this is the first time you're seeing this, I won't go through all of it right now, but there's some configuration and there's lots of different ways that you can run it. So for example, if I want to use Olama, I can do that, and that's just going to connect to it on my local host. But I can also configure it to, instead of using Olama, use Open API. And so then I'm talking to Open API LLMs. If you say that too many times, it starts twisting up your tongue a little bit there. But anyways, with this, I can again spin up an entire stack, and let me find the compose file here. When I open up the compose file, there's quite a few different things here. If I will note that if I am running this on in a Linux environment, so if I'm on Ubuntu or example, I can enable the Linux profile where it will run Olama directly, and then it'll work. But again, on the Mac, it's much better to run that natively. Anyways, it's got all the different pieces, and as Per was mentioning earlier, um, Neo4j and several of the other talks that we've had throughout the series have dived in a little bit deeper of, okay, what's RAG, the retrieval augmented generation, um, and again, all these different components here. But some of the things that are new, I'll jump over to the slide real quick just because I had that here as well. So there's now a new PDF bot, which I'll demo here in just a second. And it basically allows me to upload a PDF, and then I can ask it questions, which I would have loved to have when I was going through school. And I'm like, I don't want to read this paper. Can pass it off to the AI and tell me what's going on here. So we'll see that in action. And then also, there's been two other services that have been added that basically add an API and then a static front end. And by static, it's still using, in this case, Svelte, but you can do it with React or lots of other types of front ends as well. And there's also Compose Watch integration. So I can spin up the stack and then start Compose Watch and start making changes to the app and see those changes being made immediately. So in fact, if I jump into VS Code now, here in VS Code, I've got the project clone locally. And again, I can see the compose file here. And I'm going to open up my terminal here, and I'm going to go ahead and launch this. And this will take a few seconds for it to spin up everything. You'll see some warnings up here of variables not being set, defaulting to a blank string. That's fine, because actually, as we go through this, you'll see spots where there's it's referencing various environment variables, and then it has defaults as well too. So even if it's got the environment variable itself is defaulting to a blank string, it's actually being swapped out. due to how it's being processed here. So again, no worries. I guess that's for some of these. Anyways, after a few seconds, I've got my compose stack up and running. And if we look at the PDF bot here, we'll see that it's running on port 80, the PDF bot, sorry, go down one more, is run on 8503. So that means in my browser now, if I open up to localhost 8503, I'll get the application here, and I can select the PDF and say, hey, go ahead and analyze and read this PDF and everything from here. So I'm going to pick a PDF that's a Sherlock Holmes. I learned that a lot of the Sherlock Holmes are freely like just available and whatnot. And so I've selected that here, and this will take some time for it to process. And so we're going to give that, 15, 20 seconds, something like that. We'll just see how long it takes. Of course, now I'm streaming, so my computer's doing a lot of other stuff as well too. But again, what's happening here is it's taking the PDF and then it's basically ingesting it and reading through and trying to understand it. And once it's done, then I can start to ask questions about this particular PDF. And the nice thing is that for the most part, it's just taking care of it. And I don't have to think much about it. If we wanted to, while it's still doing that, if we look at the, for example, the Docker file here, the PDF Docker, PDF bot.docker file here, you see that it's building on top of LangChain, and it's installing various components and that kind of stuff, but pretty much everything is out of this PDF bot.py. Okay. Now, we're going to open this up, but I'll admit, like a lot of this, I'm still getting spun up and still learning myself and everything. And a lot of the other sessions throughout this webinar series have helped out a lot with it. But again, we see where it's setting up the Neo4j and all the different components. And then we've got our main function here where we give it the query and all this kind of stuff. And so it's going to do some retrieval. It's going to do the processing and everything. So let's actually jump back and see if it's completed yet. Not yet. So never quite know how long live demos might take here, but I do see in chat. So Gabrielle said that the homicide detective crime scene cleanup business owner's daughter Emmy loves the choice of Sherlock Holmes as the PDF. Yep. Hey, look at that. I just had to read a comment from chat, and now it's good to go. So, with this, I can ask it really anything. I could say, who's the main character or whatnot. But, at the end of the day, I think any Sherlock Holmes story, we just want to know, how did Sherlock solve the case? And now this will take that request and run it through all the AI machine learning and everything, and through the LLMs. And this may take, again, just a little bit of time here, just because I've got a lot going on my machine right now. But within, when I was doing this earlier in preparation, it was taking about 8 to 10 seconds to run, so it wasn't taking too long. And then I get my results back, and it prints out the summary and the use case. And again, I would have found this incredibly helpful, years ago, as I'm reading through papers through my university schooling and everything else as well too. So again, we'll get that a second here. And while it's doing that, again, going back here. So again, the PDF bot's been added. So feel free to start taking a look at the code there and trying to dive in and understand what's going on with those various things. As I mentioned earlier, compose watch config has been added to each of these as well. So I can start making changes to the files and see those being reflected as well. And I mentioned also that there's a new front-end service, in this case, the front end. Let's see, go to the front-end directory here. It's using Vite or Vite, or actually, I haven't heard the right way to pronounce it yet, and I think there's some
I think people consistently just say both things. It's the same for everything.
It's like a cube cuddle or cube control,
Yeah, no,
we're
it's
just
like
not.
when the guy who made the GIF image, he said, "Oh, it's actually GIF." So it's like you also have to be careful, right? If we go with one thing, then we're kind of screwed. So I think it's okay you go
Yep,
with both.
that's right. We, as programmers, just naming stuff, we're just not very good at it. So, um, but anyways, so this front end is using Vite, however you want to say it, and then Svelte. And so again, I can start compose watch and start making changes to this. And maybe we'll try some of that as well here in a second. But I get the front end, and it's going to query against the API to actually do the work that it needs to do. And hey, with that, if we jump back to my browser, I can see the results here. Sherlock Holmes solved the case by piecing together various clues and evidence to reveal the truth. Well, I think that's the case for every Sherlock Holmes mystery. But and then it goes step by step, and okay, the broken glass told this, the hidden key told that, the suspicious death, the motive, um, and I guess if you haven't read this story, sorry, I should have put spoiler alerts before we started this, but again, the ingestion helped me completely understand and get going with this and whatnot. Now, just to demonstrate the other front end here, if I go to 8505, this is the other front end here, and this is much like the um, other application that was there beforehand. That was um, the example that's been there from the start, but now this one is again just using a different front end and it's querying against an API, and so I can decide if I want to enable RAG mode or not, and so um, sure, I'll just send this request and I get a response back pretty quickly. Um, and with the rag mode, in case you weren't here for it as well too, I can basically use a loader service to say, hey, go query Stack Overflow and load a bunch of questions using various tags and put it into a Neo4j database so that when I enable rag mode, if I were to say the same question, how do I summarize PDFs using LangChain? Now, when it does this, it's not going to just use the LLM and the things it's been trained on, but it's going to now use that Neo4j database and the various information that it's been populated with. And we'll get that. And in fact, actually, I might have nuked the Neo4j database before. But anyways, we've seen demos of that before. Now, what actually makes this pretty useful?
Oh, here we
That's
go.
cool. Yes,
What's happening here?
sweet.
I think you did do something.
The AI is taking over. Now I'm
Or
curious what
maybe this is the exact syntax to doing it.
that's true. Uh, this is impressive.
XML create, push pass, context. There's some malloc in there. Okay. Wow.
Sometimes you never quite know what you're going to get from the AI.
Do you think it'll ever stop again? Maybe it'll just keep on
I
going
don't
then.
know.
Oh, no, wait. There we go.
It almost looks like the same thing each time too.
Yeah.
Is there any
Okay, well,
reason why? Yeah.
I don't know.
But anyhow, so again, what I can do now while that's
Can you
continuing
make it
on,
stop?
my machine's going to get hacked now.
Okay.
Anyways, I can do a compose watch, and so what this is doing is again, it's going to start watching the things, and you'll see some warning notices in here, and that's because it's still using X-Develop in the latest Docker desktop release. Um, X-Develop graduated to GA, and so now you don't need the X dash. That's called an extension field in the compose specifications. But anyways, um, compose is still recognizes, still using it. It's just letting you know, hey, use the official
Hmm.
develop instead of X dash develop. So
Maybe you
we didn't
should
want
maybe
to
you
update.
should create a pull request for that. Someone out there.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good, and it's still Hacktoberfest too. So,
Yeah.
it could be a good Hacktoberfest contribution there. Um, yeah, so feel free to do that. And now with this going, I can then open up my front end code here, and let's just open up the app here, and I'll just make a change this, maybe make this more grammatically correct. How do I summarize PDFs using LangChain? And now when I go back to my application, which is still spitting out more information,
Oh
I
yeah.
can see
Wow.
that it's done the hot reload,
Yeah.
which I find pretty impressive that the hot reload is working while the other component is still spitting out the information. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. But again, with Compose Watch, as I'm making changes to my files and on my host, it's syncing those changes into the container, and then invite is then seeing that, doing the app build and doing the
Yeah.
hot reload,
Yeah.
even while the AI overloads continue
Oh,
to
right. It
take
keeps on
over
going.
my machine here.
Okay.
Um,
Well,
so anyways, so that's kind of the couple of the updates there. So jumping back here, so
I think
again, the new PDF file.
just an important thing before you summarize this is this project, the GenAI stack is meant as like a starting point, and you can kind of shape it into whatever you want in that way. So it's a good starting point. It ties all these like components nicely together for you and let you run it like locally fairly quickly. And then you can kind of hack on it from there to kind of shape it into the kind of thing you want to build.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we don't anticipate people are going to just use this directly and be like, okay, this is my solution. Like again, use this as inspiration of, okay, how's Docker and LangChain and Neo4j and Olam, like how are they envisioning these different components coming together and working together? How can I use Compose to help spin it up quickly, and Compose Watch, etc. And so again, lots of again just inspiration to get you going there. Yep. So
And I think also it's fully local, so you can
yep.
actually, as we saw a demo yesterday by one of the ML people, and he was like, "You can run this on a plane." And this, okay, great, great. If you want to like, hang around with an LLM on a plane, you can do that. So
Yep. Absolutely. Um, and I think that's one of the unique things is that hasn't existed beforehand, where you've had to use external services and APIs, and okay, that means then you're having to pay for that API integration and everything. Where now you can do the development all completely locally on your machine. So um, yeah. So anyways, so here are the updates that have come into Gen AI over the last little bit, and I've heard that there's some more in the works as well too. And again, if you've got ideas or other things that you'd like to see or whatnot, feel free to suggest it, and kind of go from there. So
cool. All right.
all right,
Thank you for the demo, Michael. And
sure.
there's an interesting little fluke with the bot, but let's yeah,
I
we
know,
might
and
never
I know
know
that
what that
my
was.
fans have been spinning up too. So maybe it is, but kind of going back, if it's containers, if I just kill the containers, the AI overload attempt is gone.
Okay, so I think the last thing I want to touch on before we go to Q&A is that, oh yeah, also we have this one. What happens when? So we are halfway now. So again, as we mentioned before, November 6th, we'll have this like last minute support session. We will kind of walk you through the UI, so like how to do this. And then the day after, all your projects needs to be submitted. I think it's like afternoon, evening on US West Coast time. I think that's the final deadline. You can see that on the dev post site to know exactly when, but hopefully you don't want to wait until the very last minute.
Yep.
As I said before, there's like some sessions next week from the extension team and from Lifecycle as well. And so that's the what happens next kind of thing. And then we have, if you still don't have any idea about like what you want to do, on docker.devpost.com, there is a idea generator where you can kind of plug in what kind of skills you have, what kind of languages do you know, and also what kind of stuff would you like to build. You will get two emails then. So that I'm not going to demo typing stuff into the form because the email takes like 10 minutes to actually return to you. It's actually taking your input and asking a AI about what you should build. So I just wanted to share what it told me to build,
Yeah,
and then
I
we
heard you
can.
got some interesting results. So yeah, let's.
Well, it was results at least. So I'm just like click this one, and then we go into. There we go. So this is what I received. So let's see. Um, I could do like an AI-powered employee recognition system, and it took me a while to kind of figure out that it wasn't like facial recognition, which would have been interesting, even though. But it's actually like a recognition of like achievements and ranking of employees. So you can kind of rank your employees. So that's one thing we could do. Automated data analysis and pre-processing tool. This sounds like something that IBM would sell.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then a smart home lighting and automation system. So you could use
Mm.
apparently TypeScript and SQL to create a smart home lighting system using Docker technologies. Do you want to dive into this a little bit more? How would you go about doing this, you could also pick another language than TypeScript.
Yeah, TypeScript and SQL. I'm just reading through that. So yeah, use your skills in TypeScript and SQL to create a smart
I
home
was I
lighting
was
automation.
very specific on the things I know, So
Yeah,
yeah.
but I like how the one before was C# and VB scripts too. So
I,
that's
I, I also know those two languages, so I typed in the four I kind of know, and that's like yeah. I should also
so
put it in
maybe
CSS.
so maybe what we need to do is combine these two together. And if you're spending too much time in Excel, and it's seen that you're doing too much, it will then use the TypeScript and SQL to automate your home lighting to say, hey, it's time to get off of work for the day.
Yeah, maybe just we just turn off the computer.
You're done. Um, but let's
So
see.
okay, yeah,
At the
yeah.
end, additionally, you can incorporate other AI machine learning algorithms to recognize objects, detect motion more. Actually, so I know this isn't quite developer efficiency, but like thinking of again smart home and AI machine learning, that kind of stuff. The last several years, I've wanted to do lots of folks do crazy things for like Christmas lights set up and whatnot at their house, but with our neighborhood, we have a lot of people that just walk around the neighborhood, and I've wanted to like put up a camera basically, or do some body detection or that kind of stuff. And so as you're walking across the yard, the lights are like lighting up as you go along it with it. But then like maybe you can conduct the lights, as you put your arms up, it goes higher. It's just some fun interactive kind of stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think that'd be pretty fun to do. So
that would be kind of cool.
maybe the idea generator hasn't quite inspired me for the hackathon, but has inspired me to go and build this for the Christmas
Yeah.
light show of the
You could
year.
you could set up a camera at your house, and then when you can see the neighbors are nearing your house, you turn it off so they don't get to enjoy it. It's like
Yeah, if the person is my neighbor, yeah, shut it all
yeah,
down. Turn it
only
off.
your neighbor specifically, and it's like, how is he doing? Is he like standing there all the time? It's only me. Everyone else can look at this Christmas light
Yeah,
except me.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Um, yeah. So let's see. What can that be a developer efficiency? Yeah. Anyways, yeah, we'll have to think about how we can rope that back into
yeah.
the developer space. But
We had a, I think this used to be a product. I was kind of along the same lines. We used to, at my old office, we used to have these like lights on our table. It was connected to the USB port of the machine, but every time you were in a meeting, so it detected if you basically had a meeting in your calendar or Zoom was running, it flashed red so that people knew that they shouldn't talk to you because you were in a meeting. Because people were
nice.
sitting in an open landscape and then talking into a screen next to each other, basically.
Uh-huh.
And I think you'd also manually turn it on, so the developers used it when they had like Visual Studio open. So you just like click, and then they're like, "Don't disturb me, I am coding," because I don't want to be bothered. It's insane.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it's kind of cool thing. But
Since I'm working in my little backyard office shed here, maybe I need to have some sort of lighting system of, okay, this is when my kids can ransack and come sneak in, and otherwise, certain meetings don't come in or whatnot. So yeah, maybe I need a lighting
yeah,
system there too. That'll help me be more efficient as a developer. So
there you go. There you go.
there we go. So,
All right. So we have one question, which is
hurrah!
yeah, it's from SH. Um, so maybe you can answer this one, Michael, because you
Okay.
kind of know much better. But for those building an app, we need to host it somewhere during the judging period. Is there a preference recommendation for that? So that's maybe a hosting recommendation. And is there a way to submit a local only project?
Yeah. Actually, I don't recall any. I have to check the requirements again here, just so I can just evaluate. But I don't remember there. I don't recall there being a requirement that has to be actually up and running somewhere.
No.
That it can just be a local only project.
Yeah.
It's a valid submission. It can just be here's a GitHub repo. Now, of course, the more reproducible, if I can clone that repo and run Docker Compose up and be able to check it out myself, even if there's some setup steps or whatever that's needed. Okay,
Mhm.
that's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, we don't want we don't want to have to say, hey, you've got to go incur cost in order to be able to contribute
Yeah.
and complete a submission here. So,
I think actually what I would recommend is record a video of the thing working.
mhm.
And so if there's both like there can be a code reference saying here's the repo and here's a video of the thing working,
Yep.
then I think our judging panel will likely just watch the video and not try to actually get it running. Not as the first step, at least. I think the video, I'm actually just demonstrating this is how it works or how it's intended to work, can also sometimes be enough. Basically, so that would be my recommendation. Instead of hoping for having a live production system running, then record it locally and share that with us. That's more than
Yeah,
enough.
I mean, because especially for a lot of these AI machine learning workloads, you're going to have a GPU,
Hmm.
in a production environment and that kind of stuff. And so, um, if the submission is if you submit early or whatever, it may not be graded for a period of time, and that's extra
Yep.
cost for you there too. And so again, we don't want you to have to incur more costs than what you need
No.
to. So
And also,
yeah,
we know demos are flaky, and that's also the whole point of
yep,
hackathons is that you can build something that might only work like 1 out of 10 times. That's totally fine. That can
hmm
always like be fixed. And you saw Michael just demonstrating that in just a moment ago. So you don't have to kind of depend on the thing running in a live state.
absolutely. Okay, and I just see he just responded and said that answers the question perfectly. Thanks. I felt like the video
Good.
and live demo URL was necessary. I'm going to go to Git repo route and video. So
Perfect.
sweet, awesome. Um, I also see Gabrielle. Let's see, a really cool computer vision idea for dev efficiency would be something that monitors participant faces during a meeting or ceremony and tells the presenter if people are losing engagement. Yeah, it would be interesting. Like, I wonder, do you think that'd be a high percentage or a low percentage of how many people are actually engaged? And anyways,
That's
yeah,
actually a good question. That's actually a
yeah.
good question. And what happens if your connection freezes? You're just like stuck in a very like.
Exactly. We've all seen that. Like, hey,
Yep.
yeah, your connection's broken. It's just some awkward face the whole time. Um, and then yeah, follow up was, and you can give you insights to how long meetings should be, words, phrases that spark engagement, etc. That's that's some interesting ideas there too. Of once meetings cross a certain threshold and length or whatever, you see engagement drop X% or whatever.
Yep.
So um, yeah, be kind of a fun hack there. So um, I think that's all the questions we've gotten so far. So
Yeah.
I'll
That's totally
throw out
fine.
again to feel free if you've got more questions, feel free to drop them into chat as well, and we'll be happy to respond to them. So
And when you mean chat, you don't mean the YouTube chat. You mean the Slack channel. Or do you want us
e-
to sit here? Do you want to? We can banter for the next couple of hours. In case there's more questions. But,
yeah, yeah, that's true. Hey, you know what? I did see another one just come in. So there,
Oh yeah.
see, my prompt worked. There we go. So LJ Live, cool name, asked, can we use cloud services? Fair.
We can. There's no limitation. We have a set of local focused items that we put in here because we know that lowers the bar and also the cost of doing these kinds of things. So you can definitely use a cloud service. That's totally fine. There's not a the we have Yeah, I think the only technical limitation we have is like around the use of Docker technologies. So I think that's it. But you can combine that with cloud services if you want. I think some of our partners also have various cloud services, including like Neo4j. So yeah, you don't have to pick the local ones. You can pick a cloud service. And I think that actually also goes along with the other question that SH had
Mm.
asked is, can we use other tech like Elasticsearch, or must we use partner technologies? And no, we don't. The AI ML ecosystem is vast, and also all the supporting technologies of database and so on is enormous as well. So we don't discriminate based on you not using these. We partner with these companies because we know what they're offering is good. But if you have a preference for something else, then please do. That is totally fine.
Yeah, and actually, and honestly, if we saw 50 submissions using another tool that we hadn't thought about before or that we didn't partner with, hey, maybe it's a good opportunity for us to, hey, let's start talking with them and partner with them and figure out ways to make it easier to use that tool, for example. So,
Yep.
yeah, definitely no requirement there to use the specific technologies either in the Gen AI stack or the partnerships or whatnot too. So, pretty open requirements. So. Um, all right. I think that's all our questions. We've got one chat message from Gabrielle again. Not a question, just more positive verbal affirmations. I suppose these have been super helpful. Thank you, Docker staff, for facilitating these. So, it's for community members like yourself is why we do it. So, thank you for being
Yep.
here
Thank
and
you.
asking questions and everything else. Otherwise, just be me and Pear talking to each other and I mean, that's cool and all, but yeah.
I was about to say, what's wrong with that? I was saying, it's like half of my day is like sitting in a meeting with you.
That's true. Yeah, we do spend a lot of time together, but it's good too. So, all righty. Well, any final thoughts or closing remarks?
No, I think I'm so curious of what's in that box of submissions when we open it. That's what I'm looking forward to. So, and then yeah, I'm looking forward to the sessions next week. I think they're gonna be great. And yeah, then we'll see you all just the day before submission. And hopefully you don't have too many questions or too stressed about the thing. But we will try to help you along as much as we can if there's any problems. We know it
Yep.
should be fairly straightforward, but yeah, we never know. So there's a last minute chance there to get any of your questions answered.
Yep, absolutely. And again, too, if you have any questions along the way, feel free to join the community Slack, um, and join the AI machine learning, the AI ML hackathon channel as well too. All the links are in the dev post resource page as well too. So um, don't be afraid to ask questions. There's no silly questions. There's no stupid questions. You know, we're all here to help each other out as well too. So and with that, we'll wrap up and say again, thanks for joining us, and hope to see you online very soon. So thanks all.